didn't want to get off without getting your perspective, Sammy, on the and everybody else's on the Las Vegas goalie shuffle this week.
Interesting, right? Yeah, I wish I knew.
And who starts tonight is the final.
Yeah, so I think Robin Lehner probably starts tonight because they lost. I mean, but the weight of the series, do you go with your guy that got you there kind of thing? I mean, both are really great goalies. And what I like about what I'm seeing is from their two perspectives, as much as the media covers, they seem to really be supporting each other. And so, both cognizant that it is not their choices that this is happening. Robin Lehner has worked a lot with mental health. And so he's very vocal about some of the struggles and that Fleury has been there for him and that they are friends. And, but yeah, that would be tough to just the unknown, but I'm hoping that despite all this, there was these kind of plans and there was this kind of discussion and conversation. We talked a lot about this during the goalie symposium, the 3-day, how to coach goalies, and that these kind of things are okay to do as long as you're having these conversations with the goalies to let them know that, this is plan A, this is plan B, this is a plan all the way down to N, T, whatever. But, talk through those scenarios. How are you guys going to feel? How are you guys going to support each other? How should we tell you guys? All of those discussions need to be had with the goalie, so that it is done in the right way, so that mentally they are able to come back the next game to be able to play and be there for the team too. So I think Lehner's going to play. I don't know. We could probably do a poll on this call, but.
Any thoughts, Bob? Dom? Anybody? Matt?
I think it'll be Fleury.
You think it'll be Fleury?
Yeah, I think if you go back to last year when Lehner struggled, he put in Fleury and played the one game and went right back to Lehner. So I think he'll do the same thing again. And
do you think that it being in Montreal, that they'll play Fleury because it's in Montreal?
No, I just think he'll play him because it's the guy that got them there. He did the same thing last year with Lehner. He give him a game off and put him right back in again. So I think he'll follow that same pattern. I think Fleury has been their guy all year, and I think last year when the controversy with the sword in the back, I think that was him saying to Fleury that, I mean, Pete didn't put the sword in his back, but the cartoon, whatever it was. But I think that was his way of saying that Leonard's our man, and we're sticking with him come hell or high water. He got us here, and we're gonna dance him the rest of the way. And I think we'll do the same thing with Fleury this year. I think it's the fair thing to do.
And do you think he's had that conversation with Fleury too?
I think they had a conversation before Lehner went in the net, and I think they've had a plan all along. You'll go in for a game, and
that's good.
And you'll go right back in. That's what I think.
Yeah, hopefully that's the way it should be, right?
I've got a question at that level. Traditionally, and Dom, you could speak to this, at an elite level, if you're hot, you stay in. If you win, you're in. If you lose, you're out. And Tim, you had mentioned on a text last night, you questioned the overcoaching. I thought Lehner came in, he won, he played very well. I would have started him again and not put in Fleury. And that's a gut call by a coach. And there's a point, Sammy, where you talk to your goalies and say, look, at times I'm going to make a gut decision. We may agree on, a philosophy of trying to get the most out of both of you. But in the end, the head coach has to be able to make a decision like that with both goalies, may not like, but they have to respect.
Yeah, you're so right, Wally. And we had, is it Torigny? Is that how you say his name? Who just won the World Championships?
Yeah. Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
So he led one of the discussions one day, and he was like, I'm the head coach. Like, the goalie coach answers to me. When you guys are working with NHL clubs, you answer to me. I get to make the final decision. And I think you're right, Wally, that ultimately the goalie, it is the head coach's decision. But I think there can be conversations with the goalie in how do you want to have these conversations? How do you want me to tell you? Would you prefer I told you? Would you prefer the goalie coach? Before any of that happens, having that conversation to know how to, so that goalie can be the best for the next game, just in case. I think you always have to prepare one game in advance for the goalies, because mentally it can be fragile at times, as we all know, with goaltenders, and so you're preparing them. But I think you're right, Wally, that ultimately, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. It's a coach's gut decision, and you need to mentally prepare for that as well.
I think they've created a problem by the way they've handled that. And it's not the decision most people would have made, but I think most of the people that express their opinions are pretty knowledgeable hockey people. And I respect the head coach in his role. And if he made it based on his gut and his feeling, more power to him. They have the authority to do that. I just don't know at that level with two number one goalies, you create a bit of a predicament that requires a clear understanding of being able to coach with your gut. Because I think the best coaches do that. It's not analytics, it's not a book and theory and science. There's a point where at a time like that, a decision has to be made, and the head coach is going to make it, and he can take the heat for the loss, not the goalie.
Well, in this case, you've got two number one goalies. In most cases, you have a number one and a number two. What would be the difference if you had a 1 and 2? You would always go back to your number one, would you not?
No, I would go back to number one. I agree with you, Bob. I've said you got two number one goalies. Lehner went in one game and played poorly. He wasn't good in the first game. In the second game, he was better than Fleury's been. And I'm judging that as a coach watching a goalie play, two goalies play in the playoffs. Who's best now? What's important now? It's not their feelings, their state of mind. It's who's performing. And at that point, Lehner had recovered and played a game. He won. He deserved to stay in the net, in my mind. But I think that's where I believe that overcoaching can be a problem. And I'm just saying that's the way I would handle that situation, but I'm not there and I'm not experienced enough to be there.
I don't disagree with you in principle, but did Fleury play bad, or was it a bad bounce with a spinning puck off the boards that hit the heel of the stick at the inappropriate time in the game? Maybe Stahl shouldn't have played the next game because he threw it out in front of his net in the first period and they scored on him.
Well, I think we're getting into debates that have nothing to do, with it. When you can judge the mistake the way you judge it, I judge it the way I judge it. That head coach has to filter what's happened and weigh what's happened to make a decision that is going to get the result. And to me, who knows how it's going to end up? But if it's